AM 560. The Answer.
So, I wanted to take the phone call that was asking about drilling down on spending coming back as revenue. Campton Hills was where the phone call was from. So, yeah, Jim. So, spending coming back as revenue. Let's talk about SNAP, for example. SNAP cost the American taxpayer $115 billion in 2023. $115 billion the government sends out in the form of a Visa card. So $115 billion is allegedly spent in grocery stores. That is government spending. In essence, debt and or taxes, but it's really debt. The companies, the grocery stores that receive those welfare money, dollars, they count that as their revenue. The even more diabolical plan is that the government then taxes that welfare, which appears to be revenue, as income and profit to the grocery stores. And that is why the government continues to perpetrate the financial crime of counting its spending as revenue, because they use the so-called revenue as more of an asset to borrow more. Not that they have to even fill out any paperwork. They just click a mouse now. It's not like the old days where they turn on printers. And that is how you add $30 trillion in debt to fraud an economy, which is what Barack Obama perpetrated. Joe Biden was an asset to. Trump tried to cure but can't because it's on automatic pilot. And then when you look at the SNAP program itself, this is a Newsmax reporter, Finnerty. I think his first name is Rob.
There are 42 million people in this country that need food stamps on a weekly basis. And we're saying people deliberately instead of Americans, because most of the people that are on food stamps aren't even from this country. 45% of Afghanistan immigrants are on food stamps. 42% of Somali immigrants, 34% of every immigrant from Iraq, 23% of Haitians, 59% of all illegal aliens are collecting food stamps, meaning that most of the people getting food stamps from the U.S. government and the U.S. taxpayer are not even Americans. Think about that. And we didn't know about any of this before the government shutdown started, but thanks to Democrats, we can confirm tonight that millions of Joe Biden illegal aliens, people who crossed the border when Joe was president, are now collecting food stamps from a program funded by hardworking American taxpayers.
And it's the same thing with healthcare. But more diabolical is that spending is then taxed as revenue to keep the companies down, to fraud the American people, to keep it in perpetuity. And I just did SNAP benefits. Now think about green energy, bull dung, and gatsangul. You're talking trillions of dollars, all fake, 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 all creating companies to then pretend to be legitimate and pretend to be part of the economy. It's something that even Ukraine couldn't have cooked up. Miles, Western Burbs.
Hey, Shaun, Eric Holder sued Arizona because they couldn't have their own immigration policy or foreign policy. And we've never passed any indication in the federal level about states, like sanctuary states like Illinois and California, have to honor ICE holds. So if we got the presidency, the Congress, and the Senate, why can't we pass a 2 or 3 sentence statute that says these sanctuary cities are required to honor the ICE hold?
Well, I don't know why we'd have to pass it. And the answer to your question is because we've never been run by men. There's never been men that ran the country. The idea that we have tolerated for a decade or decades states that they made up the word. They're not a sanctuary. They nullify federal law. On the first day you even attempted to do it, whoever the federal government, the president was at the time, now you get no money. You get nothing. Nothing. You don't nullify law. You perpetrate a confederacy. But this idea, our problem is we're too wooed by words. There is no such thing as a sanctuary state. There is just nullification of law.
I agree with you. It's like the Whiskey Rebellion, and George Washington sent the army in.
Yeah.
So they nullified federal law, but, we should just hold them to it, and then these ICE officers won't have to go out in the neighborhoods to pick people up. They can go to county jail.
I don't think they should have. And, if you remember the beginning, I thought they should have just fenced Chicago in. Fence it in. Now you can't leave. That's exactly what needs to be done. And this idea that we somehow legitimize welfare, what's the incentive to not perpetrate the fraud? If all we do is grow, and the federal government doesn't say, we gave you $200 billion for COVID, where's the money? And all we do is say, no matter how many people you have on your Medicaid, we'll pay you. Don't worry about if they're citizens or not. And they're telling you, we not only nullify your law, we give illegal aliens driver's license even though they can't read or write or speak English. And now we're giving them CDLs. These are all Democrat areas. This is why, Miles, if you're not going to stand for something, then you bow for everything. And that's what this is. On day one, I don't give a rip if it's a Republican, a Democrat. What do you mean you're not going to enforce our laws? Then you're not part of the country. You have declared war. You have declared yourself a confederacy, which is why when you see these protests, what flag do they wave? They don't wave our flag. They wave the Mexican flag. They wave the Guatemalan flag. They wave the rag from Palestine. That's what they wave. That's a declared war inside our borders. And that's why the Democrat mafia, who do they protect with the laws of our state? They protect the predators. They protect the perpetrator. They don't protect the victims. No matter how many people are killed by drunk driving illegal aliens, does Silky G come out with his merengue costume on and say, that's it, we're done with the illegal aliens driving? Of course not. He gives them more. 455,000 illegal aliens have, just from the state of Illinois, have driver's license. They won't give us the data on CDLs. So once again, they nullify the law. They're running a fracking scam. They're running a crime syndicate. And it's just disguised as a government. That's why it's time to break the political bands that bind us. What good is what good are the principles of the country if we're not going to enforce it? What good is it? We don't have to go to war. It's time. You got 33 counties, and it took a vote to secede from Illinois, and nobody talks about it in the media? Nobody! It's insane. It's insane, Miles. Thank you very much, brother, for the call. I went long.
Thank you, Shaun.
Thank you.